Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here today. 35 years ago, a very determined minority pushed aside a majority in Iran. Something that this country truly understands, because we did much the same thing. Iran began 35 years of repression. They have shackled ideas. They have shackled people. They have killed them, and they have imprisoned them by the tens of thousands over 35 years. So they blew up our barracks in Lebanon. They blew up our embassy. They blew up our annex. They blew up our barracks in Saudi Arabia. And guess what? After that, a Republican and a Democratic president withdrew. We moved out. And then when we came to Iraq, that was something they could not stand. Afghanistan, they would permit. An impoverished country struggling to maintain any kind of life beyond the survival level of life, not a particularly influential country, but Iraq was something they could not stand. They trained Shia militia using Hezbollah battalion commanders out of Lebanon to do it at 2 training bases in Iran. Their engineers and scientists developed an advanced IED, and they instructed the militia that they trained to only use this IED, this improved explosive device, against Americans. Do not waste it on Iraqi security forces. They gave them advanced rockets and mortars, money and influence, and some of their leaders went forward with them. And General Alston, who now is overseeing the war against ISIS, who's the last commander we had in Iraq, estimates of the 4,400 American dead in Iraq, he estimates that the Iranians killed 2,000 of those 4,400. This is a rogue state by any definition of the term. And this is why it's in our national interest for them, this state, this repressive state, not to have a nuclear weapon. They want a nuclear weapon for what reason? To preserve the regime. It guarantees the preservation of the regime. And what the Iranians will do is use that weapon geopolitically to influence their strategic objectives in the region. Dr. Kissinger, if he was standing here today, I spent almost 10 years with him on the Secretary of Defense Policy Board, would say to us, Iran having a nuclear weapon is the most dangerous geopolitical event of my lifetime. And the fact of the matter is, as Ambassador Bolton laid out so unequivocally, we already have a deal. The deal to negotiate with the United States. The only deal that should have been made is to dismantle the program, destroy the secret sites, destroy every capability it takes to drive you to a nuclear weapon and verify all of it. That was the only deal that should have been made, and then we removed concessions. But we're not there. So we have a huge dilemma here because of this. So what's the hope then? Well, the hope is, as Senator Lieberman said, the hope is here. The hope is this Congress in the next 2 years, when we're dealing with this administration, who has that as a backdrop for their true policy, is not to stand for that. The hope is for the Congress to put the brakes on what we already have and hopefully not make this deal any worse than what it is. And then a Democratic or a Republican administration, I'm not arguing for one or the other, I'm arguing for an administration that has a strong national security policy and understands coldly that Iran is a strategic enemy, and they will not permit Iran to have nuclear weapons, and they will put back on the table, the use of military force to stop something like that happening. Thank you very much.